Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Alright. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is... an awkward silence.
Oh, we introduced ourselves. Okay.
Digging it.
I like this format.
This is how every show should go.
Well, I'm your homie dog, Rasco. Just throwing it out there.
And if conceptions of knowledge and identity are true, I think I'm Steve.
Yep. And because you think you're Steve, you therefore are.
Oh. Yeah, because there would have to be a Steve to doubt in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Oh, Steve, I'm echoing a bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Today, we are discussing a topic that's been kind of floating around in my head for a while. Our good friend Joel Davis has been pestering me on Twitter to do it, so here it is. Unfortunately, I'm not feeling very well. I don't know if you can tell by my voice. I'm really fucking stuffed up and stuff now, so I'm going to do our best to get through this. There will be a lot of the strain put on you two to keep the conversation going, so enjoy the pressure. I know how well Rasco deals with pressure. Oh, damn, Steve, echoing all over again. Like, even worse than last time. I don't understand how that happens.
How's that?
Good now.
Okay.
Okay, so today we're discussing mediocrity. And I'm going to start us off, and then you two are hopefully going to be able to take over, and I'll just interject randomly. What, in your mind, is the definition of mediocrity? And give us an example. And we'll start with Steve.
What is the definition of mediocrity and an example? Okay. I think mediocrity is... I have a hard time putting this in an abstract sense. I'll always try to conceptualize it in something that I actually know about. So, like, mediocrity in like literature or art or something would be the ability to structurally do what's required without any other, without what you're doing in any sense communicating with itself or going beyond itself. The complete, if I can put it in a word, it's sufficient. It's utterly sufficient, as it does what it needs to, but it doesn't require itself to do this. There's no necessity out of it. It doesn't build anything on top of it. It's just kind of there. Mediocre film, in my mind, would be something like The Incredible Hulk, where it functions as a story, but it doesn't do anything else. And yeah, that's what I got.
How about you, Rasco?
I would say that, like, mediocrity is where something serves its purpose, but it is extremely obvious the ways in which it could be better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Example?
An example of something like that. I think Doctor Strange is something that kind of falls into this category, where I think that there are very obvious ways in which that movie could be better. And I don't know, that's just my example.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the most MCU.
I'm a little bit different on it than you two. I feel that mediocrity is when something is just okay. There's nothing in it that's, like, bad or so bad that it distracts you, like you might be able to nitpick it to death or whatever, but you'd have to like think about it long term to get to that point. And there's nothing in it that's like going to change anybody's life. So that's my idea of what mediocrity is. It is there and it is passable as entertainment. And I think that most things are mediocre by that definition, as in just present and there as passable entertainment. I also think that's more acceptable now than it would have been not only 100 years ago, but like hundreds of years ago, as far as art is concerned. That all being said, a good example of something that is straight, middle of the road, it is there, it is passable entertainment, there's nothing horribly wrong with it, there's nothing great about it either. I should have thought of my own example. I guess I'd go with, like, Ratchet and Clank, which is something I enjoyed, but
Wait,
the
like
film.
The games or the movie?
No, the film.
Okay.
It's on Netflix now if anyone wants to watch it, by the way.
Cool.
Yeah, it is just there. It's got some laughs in it. It's not terrible animation or whatever. It exists. There's no disputing that it exists. And it's just a good time that, not necessarily turn your brain off entertainment, but, passable entertainment.
So, I don't want to dictate your topic necessarily, but the way we're coming at this of just passable. When people say the mediocre, I think of two things. I think one, mediocre art, and two, I think of schools. And when I think of schools, based on this definition, I would think that, by all accounts, schools thrive on the cultivation of mediocrity, because everything in a public school system is based on getting people to just a sufficient level. And anything beyond that does not matter. With, like, the way test scores are structured and homework is assigned and all that stuff, I think it is a very clear cultivation of passable, because everything has to be passable.
Okay. And see, I think the key difference there is, one, we're talking about, people's lives and well-being and things that can have a measurable effect on the world. Now, we talk about why do we fund public education, because an educated populace is beneficial to the society. There's no disputing that. Whereas the other is funny cartoons and,
I don't think
entertainment.
They're that different.
I mean, certainly art is very important, but I don't feel like it's a realistic or even a reasonable standard that all art has to try to be brilliant.
No, I agree. But in more reference to the school thing, I think what art allows for is, because of mass production of media, mediocrity becomes in some sense the norm, because this is why movie studios make 80% shit movies and 20% good movies, is because they have to keep the revenue stream up by constantly putting into production movies that aren't awful but aren't great either and are cheap to make, so they keep making money. So mediocrity is built into the system.
And it's easy to attain. So, in a sense, art is something that is inherently not bound by mediocrity, but is materially consumed by it. At the same time, art parallels the way schools function, where people aren't inherently mediocre, but they are cultivated and produced in such a way that we thrive on the mediocrity. I think there is a connection there.
Huh. Okay. Explain the connection further, because I'm having trouble seeing it.
Okay. Movies, the way they are now, function simply as a bunch of them being cogs in a machine, with a couple of them being the exceptions that the studio can afford, but still being only bigger cogs in a bigger machine. More risk, more reward, all that crap. So mediocrity is not something that that is an essential characteristic of art, but the way art is produced in a large-scale sense, i.e. film, is under a condition where mediocrity is not only natural, but almost preferable. It's easy for studios to take art and churn out a lot of mediocrity because it's easy and because we kind of need it to keep the system of the art going. So art is not a thing that is mediocre, but it is a thing that, on examination of its material conditions, is something that now thrives on mediocrity. In the same way, the way schools function, the way specialization in public education and all that functions, people are not inherently mediocre. It's not like people are just born and they're just average. People are cultivated, the way schools function, to trap themselves in very specialized courses and very specialized ways of doing things, but the standard for that specialization is always only going to be passable. That you have to get past this threshold, and as long as you are beyond it, it's fine. If you strive to be mediocre, you can, in a mechanical sense, be successful. And so I think there is a real parallel and a real connection there between the way we treat product in art as film with mediocrity, with the way we treat people as products in production of mediocrity.
Yeah, it's like, what do they call the guy who graduates with the lowest grade out of med school? Doctor.
Exactly.
Okay, see, that's interesting, because, I don't know, I see your connection to a certain point, but to me, and this might sound kind of disparaging or cynical, and, fucking get used to it, art isn't as important as we'd like to think it is. And that's like, I can feel Steve's anger, and it makes him strong.
It fuels my dark side powers.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love me some art. I love me all kinds of art. But I don't think that art is, I don't want to say a necessary condition, because that's factually inaccurate. I think because of art's ability to emotionally impact us, we elevate it as a part of our society. We view it as a part of our society as a greater thing than it would otherwise be. I feel like if all art was strictly mediocre and it just had a passable impact on everybody, no matter how great it was on an objective sense, I don't think that we would put it on such a high standard. But because every so often something comes out that perfectly captures the spirit of the time and gets to everybody in the exact same way or whatever, because that happens, we elevate art to a higher level. And this isn't a new way of thinking I want to establish. Famously, Shakespeare said, in order to save the world, first kill all the lawyers. And when Plato structured his society, his perspective was no artists, or no poets, but he meant like any kind of art. And so I think that's like very telling. You have an artist who says the best way to save the world is get rid of bureaucracy, and you have a stuffy old man philosopher who says the best way to save the world is to get rid of art. Art, that's part of the solution. So I don't think that if we were to be perfectly objective, which is obviously impossible, and I don't think we should be, I don't find that art is as important a part of our society as something like education. So that's why I think mediocrity in art is acceptable in a way it is not in education.
Okay, but see, I think the problem I have with your argument is that you're establishing conditions that just don't exist.
Fair enough.
So, if we were perfectly objective, art would matter. But we aren't perfectly objective. Therefore, art does matter.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it doesn't.
Right,
I'm saying
it matters to a greater degree because of that. Because I feel like Dante would say, like, art is a way we reflect our own cognition. I think it is massively socially and epistemically important because of that.
Okay, let me ask you this. 2 possible worlds, you get to choose one. All right?
Okay.
1, no one is starving, but there is no art. 1, everyone is fed. 1, there is starvation, but there's great art.
Okay. I would go with 2, but I would also make the case that 1 can't possibly exist, because as long as there are people, there is art.
I mean, yeah, but that's obviously not the argument.
Right, but, like, again, I would just disagree with the structure of how you're forming it.
And I get that, and it's an impossible world. I'm creating an example that can only prove my argument without any kind of objective reality. I completely agree. My wider point just being, though, I think that it's that we elevate it, because of its impact on us, we elevate it to a higher standard than we otherwise would if it didn't have that emotional impact. So I feel like if you are someone who isn't heavily impacted by art, it has less of an effect on you when you see things that are good.
Okay, and I don't want to turn this into a what is art video. I would simply say that, like, art is not limited to books and movies and poems and such. I think life is in itself a art. If we had no movies, no literature, none of that whatsoever, people still interacting with each other is still an expression of art, and you just can't get rid of that.
Okay. Rasco, you're quiet. You need to talk.
We demand
to get back to mediocrity for a second. I think what do you guys think of the idea of, like, mediocrity as, like, the ultimate motivator? Because I feel like there's this, like, symbiotic relationship between greatness and mediocrity, whereas, like, a cesspool of mediocrity is the motivator for greatness in a lot of ways. Like, people seeing mediocre stuff as what drives them to want to be better than what they see, because they know they can be better than something if it's mediocre.
Mm-hmm. That, and I mean, as you were saying earlier, your definition is when someone sees something that could easily be better. How often have we seen remakes of things that weren't that great to begin with, but then someone really had the right vision for the same concept?
Mm-hmm. Go-to examples are horror movies in the 70s and 80s. The Fly, The Thing.
Yeah.
Certainly. So I think that's true. I don't know. I wanted to talk about this to kind of defend mediocrity, though. Because, I don't know, man. Like, I joke about it on Twitter, but I'm not wholly joking. There's, a nugget of truth and everything. I can't read Neil Gaiman every day, guys. I just can't fucking do it. Like, I don't have time to fucking bawl my eyes out at, a baby dying in its cot as Death and Sandman take it away, and the mother sitting there crying on the floor. I don't have time for that every day. Sometimes I just want to turn on the TV and watch some fucking YouTube videos and scroll through Twitter at the same time. I want passable, just mediocre entertainment. I will defend schlock horror films. They're not good. They're at best, schlock horror is passable, and very little of it is even at that point. But I need that sometimes. Sometimes I need something that doesn't challenge everything I believe in and doesn't try to teach me a lesson at the end of the day and all that stuff. I mean, you can certainly argue it's doing that whether or not I realize it. There's no leaving your brain at the door. I'm a little skeptical about that argument. But at the end of the day, I don't have time for this shit.
Yeah.
I don't have time for true art.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I was kind of bringing up that relationship between mediocrity and greatness, because, like, that's why I kind of also am defending it in certain ways, because, like, I don't know how attainable it truly is for something to be great if you don't have, like, a a marker for what is not great but is passable.
Yeah, like if everything's great, how can anything be?
Yeah, and it's funny because like I agree, Ian. Like there are so many things that I enjoy that are absolutely mediocre. Right now, I am watching through for like the 800th time Rock of Love, the VH1 series with Bret Michaels. It is fucking hilarious. It is one of the greatest things ever. Not because it's good, but because as an entity, it is hilarious, and I love its existence. And like another example is the Ang Lee Hulk movie. I love the Ang Lee Hulk movie, just as an entity for what it is. I think that it's a really interesting kind of failure at the end of the day, but that in itself is what gives it value to me, at least. It's because it's such an interesting film to look at and break down all of the things in that movie that are truly inspired versus the missteps that are obviously brought on by this kind of studio mindset of what's passable for a superhero film.
I still want another damn movie to do the comic book panels on the film screen. God damn it. Why didn't anyone else do that? It looked so cool. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, I was just saying, like, I don't know. I have this thing. I was talking about how like I can enjoy things like as an entity before I'm trying to say that I think it's good. And I have that with a lot of movies, and it brings me back to them all the time. Like, even when we were, like, Alien vs. Predator is terrible, and Alien vs. Predator Requiem is even worse. But Alien vs. Predator Requiem is so bad that its badness gives it value and makes it no longer, like, mediocre when you're talking about it as an entity versus just, like, a film. It's strange.
Yeah, and I mean, value, I think, is an important word here, because I don't think the notion of mediocrity is unilateral in every way we're talking about value. So if we're talking about good films and bad films, then mediocre means one thing. If we're talking about films we like and dislike, mediocre means another thing. Like, there are movies that are in some sense good that I don't care about, but I won't call them bad, and in that sense they'd be mediocre. So like, trying to think of a good example of this. Okay, Iron Man's a good movie. It is. I don't care about it because I like Iron Man 3 way more. So Iron Man, for me, in that sense, in the sense of the value it gives me, the importance of it, it's kind of mediocre for me in that sense. So, like, I think mediocre as a concept evolves with the people that we're talking about and the way we're talking about them. There were lots of bad Christmas movies. 90% of Christmas movies are bad. I think people will agree with this. But I watch all of them, and I enjoy all of them because I'm a sap like that. And in a lot of sense, I enjoy both the filmmaking mediocrity of their quality, but also I have like this enjoyment of them that I wouldn't want to go as so far as to call them mediocre.
Okay. And see, that's the thing for me is I don't use mediocre as an insult. And I know there are critics that do, and I can't stand that. It's just so like, what do you expect from everything? What are your expectations? Is kind of my reaction when I hear it's just mediocre used as like a disparaging remark against a thing. Mm-hmm. Often I'll say it's just mediocre or it's just okay. I don't really use the term mediocre that often. Maybe I need to expand my vocabulary. I'll just use the term it's okay while like I do this all the time on comic reviews. When I just have an issue that's okay, I'm like, I don't have anything to say about it. It didn't inspire anything in me one way or the other. How was the art? I don't really remember anything, good or bad. And that's a statement in and of itself. It is just an okay book. And so, unfortunately, like that makes doing reviews hard. Because just saying it was okay, I do not feel strongly about this one way or the other. That's not like a good review. That's not going to make anybody subscribe to me. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe there's like this whole untapped
every review.
Yeah, maybe there's like this whole untapped market of people that like really want just completely non-thought through reviews. Maybe that's a thing that I could tap into. Oh, well, no, wait. That's already been done. Jeremy Johns. Anyway.
Oh.
That's hilarious.
Or Grace Randolph, more aptly, but whatever.
I was going to go with Confused Matthew, but okay. Yeah.
Sure. Insert critic you don't really care for here. No, but like, so they're just books where you just have nothing to say about them. And that doesn't mean they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
It means they just are. And I don't mind that. Like I say, I enjoy passable entertainment. What I don't want is for things being mediocre used as an excuse for things to be actively bad. That's the problem that I do have. Like, a lot of times when people have something that they like but is bad, they try to argue it's just okay. And that irks the shit out of me. Because then it, like, creates this thing of, like, oh, well, what makes something mediocre, what makes something bad, and you have to fucking stay up till 4 a.m. questioning the foundations of your thinking, or maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, we see this with directors that, and also fanboys, but with a lot of directors that get poorly reviewed films that then try to mitigate the expectations of, like, well, it's not for you high-minded people, it's for this niche group and stuff like that. Well, like, they're actively, they're not defending their film, they're creating this new circumstance under which to view it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's irritating as fuck. Like, when someone like David Ayer says, well, Suicide Squad is for the fans, fuck you, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's just a fun movie with some good characters and heart. He tweets that out, and I'm like, no.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
That bothers me, I agree.
Yeah, and this is a very constant thing that's progressed as social media progresses, where, like, we have more active influence over people making these things, where, like, we demand everything to be amazing or awful. And now we can bash people when something isn't amazing, or when something is awful, or when something is amazing.
Or even when something's amazing and then people still bash them anyway.
They bash it because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like with Dark Knight all the time. So it's a thing where, like, mediocrity is both a dangerous road to play into, but also, I gotta imagine, for certain directors, kind of comfortable. I don't expect Seth Rogen to ever give a shit about people saying his movies are awful or his movies being amazing. He just lives in that mediocre zone. He's okay with that.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I just did a review of Lilo and Stitch, the animated series, and all the movies. And, like, there are things that I got passionate about, and there are things that I wanted to say because there was just more content to talk about. But overall, the entirety of that series, aside from the first movie and the last movie, is, pretty okay. Good message. Fun, cute. That's like the most, like, there was my 40-minute video boiled down to a couple sentences. The first movie and the last movie are fucking brilliant. First movie, great film. Last movie, best ending to a series I've ever seen. But yeah, there's just, like, it's just, I watched, like, 2 seasons of a series that it has some bad episodes. It has a lot of fun, cool episodes. It's cute. I enjoyed it. I did this thing when I was in college that I'm sure you do all the time, Steve, where I fucking would write, like, 40-page papers on, these big works in comics or film or whatever.
What are you talking about? I've never done that. It is definitely not on YouTube, called Age of Ultron.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd do that shit, and I couldn't do that with Lilo and Stitch, though. I just fucking couldn't. Like, what am I gonna fucking talk about? Fucking Hume and the limits of our imagination in designing aliens? Fuck no. That'd be fucking ridiculous. And it would be to the point where you're fucking overthinking this shit. But I still enjoyed. I don't feel like I wasted my time watching it, and it bothers me when I hear people say mediocre as an insult, because to me, something is bad when I've actively wasted my time on it.
Yeah.
I think I kill my time on the mediocre, I spend my time on the good, and I waste my time on the bad, if that makes sense.
That's a good way to break it down. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, cool.
And you're right, because we have this weird tendency, too, where we've come to recognize, sort of, because we did an episode on this, we've come to recognize the extremes of everyone wants something to be great, everyone wants something to be awful. So, like, there's this more active role of, like, no, let's try and find the things that are just okay and be all right with that. But it seems like even over time, these things that are just okay evolve into one extreme or the other.
How so?
Like X-Men Apocalypse.
Ah.
Like, that movie is, I'm gonna go as far as to say it's a bad movie, but it's not an offensively bad movie like Batman vs. Superman. It's not an amazing movie like The Dark Knight. It's just kind of bad. And the discussion for that movie went from it's in the middle of the road to very clearly, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever and X-Men is dead. And I don't know why we like to make that leap.
Did these people see Wolverine Origins?
Huh?
Did these people see Wolverine Origins?
I guess not, but I mean, I still think that's the worst X-Men movie ever, but like, I don't know, it seems like everyone's uncomfortable with mediocre. Like, no one wants that middle road. No one wants to have no opinion. They want one thing or the other, and if we try to agree on it's the middle, we will force it into one side.
Yeah. I felt that way about the Magnificent Seven remake.
I still haven't seen that.
I saw it, and I really liked watching it, but I came out of that movie going, I mean, it's fine. Like, it's maybe like a 6 out of 10 most, maybe.
And what about the new one?
Oh, well, see, that's what I was talking about. Like, I'm talking about the remake of the remake. But,
I know. I just like making that joke.
But that's an example of where, like, a lot of people praised that movie, and I can't remember. I think I've seen that on, like, some top 10 lists, and I don't think that should be anywhere on anyone's top 10 list, but it's not bad. It's really not a bad movie. And then I go on the internet and I see that people are if it's not great, everyone's shitting on it, and they're saying that it's funny and that it's goofy, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, did I even watch the same movie as you? And then I watched the movie Shut-In, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's hilarious. That came out this year. It's a Naomi Watts horror film. And that movie is so bad. Then I see people defending it because they think this one little twist at the end somehow justifies it as being a good creative movie, and it doesn't.
Cough the witch, cough. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't get that. And, like, I don't like that people have this weird agenda about a thing. Mm-hmm. And this happens on both sides. Like, regardless of the quality of a film, if there is something in it that does not match with someone's political agenda, or that does match with their political agenda, like, if it does, they'll defend it, and if it doesn't match, they'll just tear it to shreds.
Yeah.
And, like, their complaints at that point have nothing to do with the film and everything to do with their opinions on, you know, fucking whatever. Like, you mentioned Magnificent Seven, and I did hear this, and it was hilarious, because people were complaining about the multi-ethnic, multiracial cast in that. And they're like, that's so it was like the same people who got all shitty about Star Wars Episode 7 and all that stuff. They're like, oh, it's so fucking shitty, and, like, they're Hollywood PC culture, and, you know, casting black people in our cowboy movies. Black people weren't cowboys, yada, yada, yada. No one fucking bothered, and, like, they get that perception by looking at Old West movies, right? Looking at, you know, fucking, James... John Wayne, not James Wayne. Like, no, James Dean isn't the name. Anyway, they get that perception by looking at, like, John Wayne movies and stuff, and that's where the perception of the white American cowboy comes from. Thing is, you actively look into Old West things, that's not true. Matter of fact, a number of John Wayne movies were inspired by true stories of people from the West. And a number of the characters that he played were inspired by black slaves that ran away and fled to the West. So, like, just people's perceptions, people's politics completely colored their perception of a movie that, I don't know how, I'll take your word for it, Rasco, color their perceptions of a movie that is just okay. And so it's either the worst thing ever, or you have people who like multiracial, multi-ethnic things, like more progressive culture and stuff, and so will defend to the death Zootopia for being so progressive and so clever and all this stuff. It's just alright.
Yeah, I don't like that movie very much.
It gets a little weird the more you think about
Yeah.
it. It's weird. I was watching a review someone made today of it, and they're like, it's such a great thing that, like, really intelligently comments on race culture and stuff. Like, I don't think you really thought it through.
See, and Wisecrack I don't usually like, but they did a video on how Zootopia might actually be kind of racist, and it breaks down how its racial metaphors don't actually make any sense.
Yeah. And so it's just like a thing where people see like these, like they see tags on a thing, and so regardless of its quality, not if it's just mediocre, regardless of its good, bad, or mediocre, they will attach themselves to it because they identify with this part of it, and so thus feel the need to either defend or to bash the shit out of it.
The most extreme, and probably the example everyone's mind is going to go to at this point, is the new Ghostbusters movie.
Yes.
Which is, as I have seen it, nothing. It's nothing. It's not awful, it's not good, it's nothing. It's just the most generic thing ever. And everyone either hates it or they love it, but they don't actually hate it and they don't actually love it. They love and they hate the arguments they're having about it.
Yeah.
And the big thing with this is that, like, there's nuance in this discussion that should be had that isn't going to be had because people are too entrenched in the battle lines of, I must defend it as the best Ghostbusters movie ever because it has female cast, or I must hate it with all of my passion because it has an all-female cast, not bothering to think about how the female cast is represented and whether or not it's actually sexist or whether or not it's actually progressive. It's a very messy thing.
I think a great example of this kind of, this movie agrees with me politically or ideologically, so therefore it's good. A great example of that is Sausage Party that came out this year.
Oh, yeah.
Sausage Party is a really mediocre film. Not in, like, an insulting way. It's just mediocre. But I have seen so many people that are just praising it as this, like, amazing pro-atheist movie. And, like, as an atheist, I watched that movie and I'm like, this is not what I really want in, like, an atheism movie. Like,
it's a really
the best argument
atheism movie, right? Like, it's the atheist movie you would make when you're 13.
Yeah, no, it's, you can't prove any of this. And, like, that's the movie. And if you really want a more nuanced discussion going on within the movie you're watching, that's not in Sausage Party. And I see all these people praising it simply because it's an atheist. It's definitely coming from an atheist perspective. And that doesn't make it good. It maybe makes it a little ballsy. And, like, another example of this is Deadpool. Deadpool might be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Fuck that.
That's ridiculous. I don't know Deadpool, but again, Deadpool is... It's a good Deadpool movie, I guess. But it's not Best Picture worthy.
Not even close. We had some pretty damn good movies in 2016.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just them trying to pull in ratings. Don't listen to the Academy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I enjoyed the Deadpool movie, but that's just it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, fun, passable flick that was just okay, and, it had some clever moments here and there. I don't think it's like, it's not anywhere near the greatest superhero movie ever made. And obviously not anywhere near Best Picture. But I don't think any of that makes it bad.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of a weird discussion to kind of transition here. It's kind of part of a weird discussion when we discuss things being mediocre is there's always this, like, kind of need to quantify that just because you're not saying great things about it doesn't mean that you think it's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have kind of the reverse of that, where, like, oftentimes I will not like a movie, but I'll, for some reason, talk about the things I did like more, and it comes across the reverse. Like, I did that with Suicide Squad when I first saw that movie. I came out of it, and I was like, it's really, like, inside, I'm like, this movie is really bad. But there are things about it that I liked that maybe are worth seeing on their own. So I was like, I say go to it. But it's not a good movie. It's really bad. It's like a textbook example of horrible editing. But again, like, I didn't say that, so I guess it probably comes across like I like Suicide Squad. So it's kind of like the reverse of what you were just talking about, where, like, you'll say the things you don't like about it, and people will be like, oh, you must hate it then, because you're not saying all of the things that you love, and you're not talking about it in terms of the whole overall package I loved, right?
And people want to fit it into a box. They want it to be like, how many stars is it out of 5? Is it a thumbs up? Is it a thumbs down? Is it like, they want a complicated affair to be simplified as much as possible when we talk about it. So even when we say things like mediocre, there is a really wide range of mediocre.
Certainly. Trying to think of a good example of this.
Bad Santa 2. We were talking about that. This conversation kind of came up when we were reviewing Bad Santa 2.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that movie. It's very mediocre, maybe even like upper tier bad, but I liked it enough to, like, come out of that being like, I don't feel like I wasted my time on that movie.
I feel like a lot of horror movies, a lot of franchise horror movies fit into the spectrum of mediocre, where it's top tier bad or low tier good. Halloween 3 is top tier mediocre. Mm-hmm. Halloween 5 is low tier mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and, like, I'd put Alien vs. Predator in, like, you know, yeah, I mean, just straight middle of the road.
Yeah.
I'd put Predator 2 at top tier mediocre, as you were saying, where it's like, it's not great, but, you know.
I like Predator 2.
There's a million great decisions in that movie.
Yeah, Predator 2 is novel.
I
put Predators over it, though.
Yeah, just barely. The whole franchise has really weird casting direction after the first film.
Just true.
Really weird casting.
And see, that hasn't stopped at the Shane Black one. I don't understand what the guy from Key and Peele is doing in that cast.
You think, right?
Like, why? What is the point?
Whatever, man. It's Predator. There's gonna be, like, he's gonna be the main character, and he's gonna do, like, a passable job. You're just be like, but I still don't love it for some reason.
He just seems like the tonal opposite of that movie, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's you know, like, the whole Predator franchise, you know, the first film was great. Everything else in that franchise, besides AVPR, that Predator is in, is pretty okay, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
Yeah. It's maintained a consistent level of quality. Whereas Alien, my fucking god. Like, one of the only more mismanaged franchises than Alien is, like, Sonic the Hedgehog.
And Highlander.
That too, yeah.
Highlander is the only franchise I am aware of where it has a sequel widely considered the worst film ever made, and it's not even the worst in the franchise. Yeah, pretty much. Like, I was talking to Matt earlier today, and we were going on about Sonic, and he's like, I gotta look up what he said, because it made me laugh for like a good 2 minutes.
Wait, is this Matt Slaniker?
Yeah.
Love me the Matt Slan dog.
Yeah. We were talking about Sonic 06 and Sonic Boom, and he says, Sonic 06 makes Sonic Boom look like Sonic 06. That had me laughing so hard. Like, you have something in a franchise that's so mismanaged, or it's like, it can even top itself in badness. Like, you thought that, like, it literally hit rock bottom, and then grabbed a shovel, and kept fucking going.
It's kind of weird.
Like, no. They said this is the worst thing ever. We're gonna try to do worse. But yeah, like Alien, like I don't know if we're having this discussion on recorded or not, but like, the new Aliens film is gonna have to try to be harder than Alien Resurrection. It's gonna have to try to be worse than Alien Resurrection. There's no way it can make a worse movie without trying. So Alien's a franchise, to get back to my original point, that has just not been consistently good. Like, it's had 2 good movies, and then 2 really bad movies.
I can't say that Alien 3 is really bad. Like,
it's got
like
a good movie in there somewhere, but it's not the one I watched. And then it's had, like, fucking What the Fuck Ever Prometheus was, and in between that it had an okay movie strictly because the Predator was involved, and then a really, like, I still haven't seen that film because of AVPR. I can't tell you if it's a bad movie or not. I can't see it.
Yeah,
so.
No one's ever seen that movie. I guess we'll never know if it's good.
Exactly.
There were children who paid for that movie in a theater, and they still haven't seen it. I feel so bad for them.
I was one of them.
You could never watch that film in daylight in your house. Like, even if you have one of those no glare televisions.
Doesn't work.
Oh my god, you're so right, dude. You're so fucking
You
right.
have to artificially boost it, and it still doesn't look good.
Oh no, that's the thing I did recently. Is I actually, when I watched through all the films a couple months back, I actually turned up the brightness and saturation and contrast on my television.
You have to, like, make it a negative. You'd have to, like, get the negative of the film and then, like, watch that.
You see, the sad part with AVPR, though, is, like, if you can't see it, it's a better movie than when you actually see it.
No, see, I'd put it the opposite. Because when you can see it, at least the alien and the predator look cool. That's my justification. When you can't see it, at least they don't look like garbage. What?
But they're barely in it is my even bigger issue.
Oh, certainly. But yeah, regardless of all that, so not to review the entirety of the Alien and Predator franchise.
We should do that.
Yeah.
We should. Rasco, get on that. You need to pick a topic.
We have to plan that like a month in advance, though, because I don't have time to watch all those movies in 1 week.
God damn it, Steve.
I'm busy.
No. You're supposed to just be able to dedicate your whole life to doing, like, one thing at the drop of a hat.
Oh, okay. Got it. I got to reschedule my calendar then. But there are certainly lots of franchises that thrive off of their own mediocrity. I don't think people would have kept up with Nightmare on Elm Street had it not maintained at least some level of mediocrity. Because at some point, people were watching those movies ironically, right?
Yeah.
When you get to, like, Dream Masters, it's not about the potential to live up to the first one anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like, part of it is just the novelty of the idea that helps that franchise work.
Yep. That's a thing that Friday the 13th did not have, and so it just got awkward.
Yep. Like, I think it was... There was some comedian I remember years ago talking about how bad the Friday the 13th movies were. And he's like, at this point, these kids are so fucking stupid. You can strangle them with a cordless phone.
It's true. They're so dumb. It's hilarious how dumb they are. I love it.
Yeah. So, like, that's just a thing. And then you have a movie like Freddy vs. Jason, where the novelty of, like, what makes Nightmare on Elm Street work, no matter how stupid it gets, just makes Jason not feel super awkward being back and shit.
Yeah, that's true. And I still want to see a sequel to that.
Nah, I'm good.
I kind of want. I don't know. I want to follow up on this whole, like, so Jason's just hanging out with Freddy's decapitated head then. I want to see that conversation. I want to see Jason sitting there and Freddy just keep yabbing.
There's your fan film, Steve.
I want that. I want someone to make this fan film.
It should be Castaway, but instead of like Tom Hanks and Wilson, it's Jason Freddy's head.
Exactly what it is. That's what I want. That's also the greatest thing Arrow's ever done when they had that joke about Oliver being trapped on an island and his best friend's name is Wilson.
You're so right.
That's the best thing that show has ever done, and it will never top it.
Okay. Oh, man. Rasco, you take us somewhere on this now.
Okay. Here's a question. Mediocrity. Let's talk about mediocrity in our own lives. Do you guys have, like, a specific area of your life, of your identity, I guess, where you refuse to accept mediocrity?
Refuse to accept or only accept? Because I haven't answered to both.
Then go ahead, give both then.
Okay. I only accept mediocrity in cooking. Because, you know what? Cooking complex food is too expensive and not very filling, so I will just have, like, a burrito, and I'm alright with that.
I will agree with that 100%. That's exactly where I was going to accept mediocrity.
Okay, good. We're on the same page then. Yeah, food, I don't care. As long as I've eaten, I'm alright.
Yeah.
See, I'm like a Steve Baxi when it comes to eating. I totally am. I'm like such a goddamn it, it's not good enough. I hate everything. And I didn't used to be. I don't know when I became such a picky eater, but yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Does that make, like, going out to dinner between you and Haley really awkward because you don't like any restaurants?
Oh, no, I like plenty of restaurants, but I have restaurants that I won't go to.
Oh, okay.
Like, I have a list of restaurants in town. Fuck that place. One of them just closed down, and I'm so happy.
That's hilarious.
Like, someone goes, oh, Ian, that restaurant you told me about closed down. I'm like, no, not the Indian place. And he goes, no, McAllister's. Like, oh, fuck that place. That place is awful.
See,
if I told you about that place, I told you not to go.
See, you're like restaurants, and I'm just like, so anyone want to drop to Taco Bell?
Oh, fuck Taco Bell.
I love Taco Bell.
God, Taco Bell. Like, I will admit, I do eat it on occasion, but I always feel bad about myself afterwards.
See, I feel great every time I've had a Taco Bell burrito. But, see, and I will actively go for the mediocre Taco Bell over any good, legitimate Mexican restaurant. Like, my friend's like, hey, do you want to go to the corner and go to this actual Mexican restaurant? I'm like, no, I got Taco Bell.
Fuck you, Steve.
I know. See, that I am completely okay with mediocre food. I am okay with awful food.
Ugh. No. I guess, like, dude, okay, this kind of funny story. So Haley and I went grocery shopping last night, and I was looking through the frozen dinner section. And this sounded weird, but, like, in a good way. So I bought it. And it was like a frozen lasagna, but it was a Mexican lasagna. Like, using Mexican ingredients as opposed to Italian.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good idea. You know what? It was terrible. It was, like, hands down, one of the worst things I have ever eaten. Like, oh my god, the only thing good about it was the cheese. It's really hard to fuck up cheese, though. So, like, the fucking noodles tasted like rubber in it, and, like, they shouldn't have used, you know, flour-based noodles in the first place. They should have used fucking corn, the morons. But, oh, it was just ass. I love me some lasagna, and I love me some Mexican food, and I do legitimately think that there can be such a thing as a good Mexican lasagna. I also want to try a chocolate lasagna, but regardless, I think it can be done, and be done well. This was not it. Dude, like, the worst part about it was, that was the most expensive thing we bought when we were out grocery shopping. That was like $8.50.
Okay, now, I can understand that, yeah. Like, when you pay that much for food and it sucks.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I refuse to pay for, like, I don't refuse, you know, I'm not one of those assholes who, if I'm at a restaurant, I'll send the fucking dish back or whatever. I'll finish it and just not be satisfied with the meal. But, like, oh, I hate when I've paid, like, I will never pay for a bad meal twice, let me put it that way.
Okay, I think this would be the core of our difference then, because, like, I would rather eat crappy food that I know will be crappy and alright than risk paying money for something I know I might not like. I take no risks with food. I will just sit here and eat Taco Bell.
And see, that's kind of like I have a similar way of solving that problem. Or I have a different way of solving that same problem, let me say that. Once I find something I like at a restaurant, it is incredibly rare for me to order something else from the menu.
Ah, okay. We're similar in that way, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like we go to like an Italian restaurant called Casa's here in town every so often, and all I get is fucking lasagna. Every single time we go, I get lasagna. The only time I don't get lasagna is if it's a surprise visit to Casa, and I already had lasagna that day. And even then, there's still like a 75% chance I'll get some goddamn lasagna. So, yeah, my solution is just order the same thing every time.
See, and since we're talking about food, pizza's a thing that is aggressively mediocre, but also very hard to fuck up.
You have to try.
You really do. I have never had a pizza that I think is awful.
You should try some gluten-free pizza.
Okay, but that's different. That is trying.
That is trying to fuck it up.
What even is a gluten?
Well, like, I was misdiagnosed. Like, I have Crohn's, but I was misdiagnosed for 10 months as having celiac disease, which means you can't have food with gluten in it. And so you had to buy all this, like, special shit to eat. And for 10 months, I could not get a good pizza. It sucked. Like, it's still on my channel, I believe. You can watch one of my entries in Who Reviews the Reviewers, where I'm eating a gluten-free pizza, and it tastes like straight garbage. Like, the crust tasted like fucking gummy bear. Like, it had the texture of gummy bears.
Ugh.
Which, yeah, worst possible thing ever.
This is weird. Like, it's weird, because I've, like, trained myself to literally not give a shit about food. Like, I eat food to survive.
Yep.
That's literally, like, why I eat. And it comes from when I was in high school. I was like on like a super like health kick, and I was like, I'm going to create myself I'm going to make myself a superhuman. Like, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be Batman. I'm going to reach the peak of human perfection when it comes to like health. And through that process, I've like rewired my brain to not give a shit about like food. And so like literally, and I don't eat this way anymore. Now I'm just back to like a normal person. But, like, when I was in high school, like, late high school,
That's the thing about Batman. Batman never gives up.
Yeah, I'm not... See, that's the difference between me and Batman. Not many differences, but that's one of them. And, like, I would wake up and... Like, have you ever had just no flavor additives, just straight Greek yogurt?
Ugh.
It's like... It tastes like sour cream. And, like, literally every day, I would just wake up and, like, eat straight Greek yogurt. And it was not good, but I, like, rewired my brain into not giving a shit, and I would eat it, and I would just be like, yeah, I eat things to survive. And it was really weird, but it's actually paid off, because now, like, I could be in a place where if I needed to eat horribly disgusting shit to survive, I could do it, because I no longer have, like, I don't like seek food for pleasure anymore.
Okay, and see, that's the thing for me where I can't say this because I've never been in that situation, and I hope never be in that situation. I would like to imagine that I could suck it up and deal with it if it was a life and death scenario. But I don't feel like going to a restaurant and paying for food should be equivalent to a life and death scenario. Like, I really am imagining that scenario, Rascal, where you, like, go to a fucking restaurant and they bring you your food and you just, like, cringe through eating it, and you're like, I'm eating to survive, and you keep telling yourself that to get past it all, and then at the end they bring you a bill, and you have to pay them
Yeah, I'm not going to search
eating their food that you have to eat to survive.
I'm not going to search for shitty food. I'm just saying, like...
See, this is why I never take a date to a restaurant. Because at that point, the eating, the food, you're basically paying them for atmosphere and conversation because the food's not what matters.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to good restaurants. You take your dates to Taco Bell?
I don't take my dates to Taco Bell, but if a date wants to go to Taco Bell, you know I'm going to marry her.
You should just marry someone who works at Taco Bell.
I might. See, I just went on a date a couple days ago, and, this woman's idea of a date was let's get bagels and walk around campus. I'm like, yes! This is
Steve just carries a ring on him every time he goes on a date in case she wants to go to Taco Bell.
We didn't answer Rasko's question at all.
What was Rasko? Oh, yeah, wait. What? He was talking about, what is something that you will not accept mediocrity in. I mean, food seems like an obvious answer for me. Figures? I'm not, a huge figure collector, because I'm very particular about that. So, if I'm going to buy a figure, it has to be a good one. And also not expensive. So I'm very particular on what I will accept with action figures, statuettes, stuff like that.
You've kind of narrowed the margin there where it has to be cheap and good.
Yeah, or I have to get a good deal on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, like Hot Toys, for example. That's a thing that's usually never mediocre, but it's also expensive as all hell.
Yeah, and I don't own any because of that.
I used to have a Captain America First Avenger Hot Toy figure. That was amazing.
I'm jealous. Well, you don't have it anymore, so I'm not jealous.
All I have saved of the entirety of my comic book collecting and figure collecting days are 3 posters and 4 books.
Impressive. Damn, that sucks, bro.
Anyway, Rasko, what about you? What is something you will not tolerate mediocrity in? Bandanas?
Okay, so my senior year of high school, you know how they tell you there's a bunch of things you shouldn't do your senior year? They tell you shouldn't take a bunch of free periods, and you should not take the easiest version of the classes you're required to take and all that.
Yeah.
I broke all of those rules, and I did all of the things they tell you not to do your senior year. I had 2 free periods, and then I had I took college algebra my senior year. I just absolute joke classes, except for my English class because I actually like that, and then I took a bunch of art classes because I was in an art program at my school. And what I learned through that was that it didn't matter how much I hated school. At the end of the day, the one area at which I would refuse to half-ass it was when it came to art and when I had to make art and stuff like that. There was never a drop in quality throughout my entire school career, whereas I just started to not give a shit about so many other things, like math and shit like that I can't fucking stand. And so that's probably where it is for me. I cannot tolerate, from myself, creating mediocre art. That's just something I can't do. It hurts me.
Yeah, and I totally feel you there, because I don't think the stuff I do is great, but I have an internal standard of quality.
Yep.
Where, and I'm pretty sure both of you have seen me do this shit, because I'm pretty sure I've talked to both of you while I've modeled at one point or another. Walked up and down the runway. No, but, I will spend abhorrently large amounts of time trying to figure out one goddamn little detail in Maya that, literally, the camera will never be on. No one's gonna see it in the render. But fucking I'll know it's there. And fuck that noise. I will not accept that I know I could have done a tiny little minuscule subtle detail better. And I just decided, no one will see it anyway. It looks good enough. I will not accept that for myself. Okay. Steve, you got anything else for us on mediocrity to talk about?
Well, I do want to quickly mention this, because I mean, I guess this did turn into a bit of a defense of mediocrity as opposed to, bashing on the mediocre as people would come to expect. One thing I would like for people to keep in mind when they cringe at the mention of the word mediocre is that whether you know it or not, you accept mediocrity pretty regularly. A very good example, I think, is if you look at your friends. I don't know anyone that scrutinizes their friends so that like their sitcom TV show perfect. You have mediocre friends. You have friends that are just kind of situational, kind of whatever. You don't really invest the greatest deal into, or they invest the greatest deal back. You have things where you just let the TV run and you don't care what's on. You have things where like the music is just the background noise. Mediocre is kind of a way of life in the same way stereotypes are, where like it may not be an aggressively good thing, but it's part of how we function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Again, I just don't have the time for everything to be great.
Yeah, and like you said,
can you imagine how fucking daunting that shit would be?
Yeah.
Like everything was gaming.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And video games are a good example of this. I don't play video games for the story. I'm sorry, I don't. They're artistic, and they teach you very interesting concepts of epistemology and all that. Fine, whatever. I don't care. I play them because I get to shoot things.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I've invested way too many days into like Call of Duty in middle school to say that I have standards above mediocrity when it comes to video games.
Yeah, my standard for video games in general is how many hours can I play before I'm bored?
Yeah.
And see, I'm like the exact opposite. I don't like the whole shooter thing. For me to play a video game, it has to be like good, at least on my standards.
Understandable.
Like, I tried to play through the Stitch Experiment 626 game, and fuck that game's camera. Just fuck that game's camera.
I remember when Lilo and Stitch the movie first came out, I got the original game for PlayStation 1, and I hated it.
I didn't realize there was a PS1 game. This is PS2.
I think this was PS1. I don't remember. It was the movie tie-in game. That's all I remember.
Okay, this is a prequel to the movie.
Oh, okay. Then I might not be talking about that.
Oh man, fuck that camera.
Because I think the game I was playing is actually going through the story of the movie, but I don't remember. It's been like 10 years.
Yeah. More. It's been like...
It's old.
Yeah. So, no, for me with video games, I don't like playing, just shoot and run games.
Yeah.
Fuck those. I have no idea how people do it.
And, I mean, there is definitely a balance to this. Like, we talk about the things that we accept mediocrity and things that we don't accept mediocrity in. Like, I am a person that literally spends their entire day reading through ancient philosophy and modern philosophy and, like, lit theory and crap like that, and, like, watches quote-unquote classics and shit. So when I'm talking mediocre, I'm usually talking about things that are in direct opposition to the things I spend all day studying. There's a reason my musical taste jumps from Frank Sinatra to Sex Pistols. And that's the reason.
Nice. Okay, Rasco.
Yes.
What are we going to talk about next week?
So is that to be a review for...
Yes.
Okay. There was a movie that came out this year, and it was written and directed by a guy named Jeremy Saulnier, and it's called Green Room, and it's a really, really good movie. It was my favorite movie of the year. And so the movie we're going to review is not Green Room. It's going to be the movie he made before Green Room that got him known. Extremely small budget movie called Blue Ruin.
Blue Ruin.
Yep.
Blue Ruin as in R-U-I-N, right?
Yes.
Okay. First fucking Steve picks goddamn Nosferatu, and now Rasco's picking Blue Ruin.
I feel like mine is more known.
It definitely is.
Just fucking movies no one ever heard about or cares about. Awesome.
A lot of people like Blue Ruin, so you're going to eat your words. Well, actually, Ian, you'll probably hate it. I really think Steve will like it, and I love this film.
Is Blue Ruin... I feel like I've seen a poster for this movie somewhere. Like, it's got that really cool classic pose of a guy with a gun, but, like, the titles are like, blurring the pictures. I don't know. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Blue Ruin's poster. I'm looking at Blue Ruin's poster right now, and it's like there's like black around the edges of the poster, and like the sky is the words Blue Ruin, but like
and
the
there's like
black,
a crack in it.
What? Yeah, it's got a crack.
Okay, then I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool. Episodes of Geeky Gentlemen get so funny sometimes.
Next week, the episode no one will watch.
I mean, really, right? Like, I feel like that's a thing on this channel, on this show. It's just like, here's this very specific movie for this incredibly niche audience that has no idea who we are. So that's awesome.
Quality fan base, not a quantity.
Well, like, it's hilarious because I always think no one's gonna fucking watch that. Like, when I picked the goddamn Looney Tunes movie, Back in Action movie, and then that got, like, over 200 views for some reason.
That's a fun movie, though.
Yeah, but, like, fucking really, people?
Quick question before we end this. This is the same guy that did Green Room. Green Room has, Anton Yelchin and Patrick Stewart in it, right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, I wasn't sure. I want to make sure we're on the same page about what movie we're talking about is all.
Blue Ruin. Can't be any worse than, Blue Velvet, so...
Alright.
Don't you fucking look at me! Okay. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I am the Exile.
Rasco's not here.
Is he gone? I can't tell with his profile picture.
My mic was muted, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I said I'm the beta male cock.
That should be our tagline.
Yeah. And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.